Hello, everyone. My name is David Apple, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. I want to thank those for joining us for the first time, as well as welcome back all of our loyal followers. Today, we have Jordan Scher and Luke Smith joining us to discuss the value provided by OpsRamp. Jordan is the Director of Corporate Marketing for OpsRamp and has a 20-year track record of success serving organizations like IBM, CenturyLink, and Avaya, as well as startups in the enterprise IT. Luke represents OpsRamp Solutions Consulting, having come from Cherwell, where he helped build the IT project management practice. Before that, he worked in ITSM for ORAU, a large government contractor. I'll provide a little overview of Flycast Partners before we kick it over to our friends at OpsRamp. Flycast Partners, we're here to deliver a truly amazing IT experience. Founded and staffed by personnel who have many years of experience in the IT space, we took the best ideas from these experiences to provide the best components necessary to grow and become a leading value-added reseller and process consultant in North America. We offer best-in-class implementation services and training in IT service management, asset management, endpoint management, and IT operations management. Our professional services can scale up or down to meet the IT needs of any organization, regardless of the size of the project or budgetary restrictions you may have. We offer services both on-site as well as remote, in addition to specific training on the tools you need to use. Our remote administration offerings will enable your organization to focus on your normal day-to-day operations, saving you precious time and money. I encourage you to reach out to us. You can call us at 1-844-FLYCAST. That's 844-359-2278, or simply visit our website to chat with one of our specialists. You can look around our website for our upcoming webinars, as well as different topics and different solutions that we're able to provide. That all being said, I'm going to kind of kick it over to Jordan and Luke to tell us a little bit about OpsRamp and really to start, guys, what is OpsRamp? And I'm going to hand it over to you, Jordan.
Thank you very much for that intro, David. If I can take over the control of the screen, I will. Great. Thank you very much. There we go. All right. Thank you very much, David. So as David introduced us, it was great. My name is Jordan Scher, the Director of Corporate Marketing for OpsRamp, and I'm joined today by Luke Smith, a Solutions Architect for OpsRamp. And we're here to talk about a couple of different things. I'm sure that when folks signed up for this, the title of this webinar is Making AIOps Work for You. And it's true that AIOps has captured the imagination of IT practitioners everywhere, but really the story of AIOps is more about the story of digital transformation. And we think the digital transformation is great, right? We're in the middle of it, and it giveth and it taketh away. That now we have the power to buy infrastructure down to the second that we are using it with serverless and other cloud-native technology, but also with that complete control and complete flexibility, it comes with a total new paradigm for complexity as well. And I'm sure that everybody on the call feels that complexity every day. They feel it when they wake up in the morning and they check their email and they may see hundreds of emails about different alerts that are going on within your IT organization. They see it when they're trying to manage the cost of different infrastructure billing increments that they have to deal with on a regular basis. And they see it when they're trying to manage multiple different instances of multiple point tools within the organization, trying to get a grip on what is exactly going on in the ever-changing, ever-dynamic enterprise IT organization. Now, alert fatigue is one of the things where we start to see AIOps emerge. And the actual volume of alerts that folks are dealing with on a regular basis is becoming paralyzing. If you think about that hundreds of alerts that you're seeing in your email inbox every day, multiply that by an exponential factor, and you'll see the number of alerts that an enterprise or organization is dealing with on a global scale. 60% of financial services organizations have reported receiving over 100,000 alerts per day. And of those alerts, if you do the math, of a sampling of 2,500 of those 100,000 alerts, only a little over 23 were actual threats, were root cause alerts that needed immediate triage. And that means that 110 alerts out of every grouping of alerts yields one alert that is worth paying attention to. So imagine reducing the number of alerts in your inbox from that 110 down to 1. And that ultimately what that does is it drives the efficiency and effectiveness of your organization. And think about it. If you could reduce that number of alerts by as little as 10%, you could see overall effectiveness of the IT organization and the ability to think strategically increase by a factor of maybe 50%. Your organization could be 50% more effective just by being able to reduce that number of alerts. Now, the problem comes with the fact that you have to sift through those alerts to ultimately determine root cause. And there has to be technology that would help you make correlations, understand relationships between these alerts, and help you identify insights, actionable insights that could come from all of those alerts without having to sift through all of them manually. And that's the story of AIOps ultimately. Now, Gartner understands that AIOps is ultimately going to become the true killer app technology that's going to help deal with some of this alert fatigue. And even in this most recent technical professional guide that they published last month, they indicate that to provide a secure foundation for growth, technical professionals focused on infrastructure and operations must transform their processes and automate delivery of data processing capacity. So this is the story, right? And we're going to double click on both of these today. So we talk about transforming their processes and automating delivery of data processing. Now, this is what they recommend for transforming the process of how I&O leaders handle both alert fatigue and overall complexity. The first step that they mention is it's important to reduce redundancies, right? That is just complete, utter wasted spend. You want to identify and eliminate multiple tools. You don't want to have the same instances of a single tool over the course of an entire organization, which is often what happens because anybody with a credit card can buy an incident of a different point tool like SolarWinds, for example. So you want to find those redundancies and reduce them. You only need one tool for one job. The second part of this is increasing efficiency, right? You want to be able to do more with the same number of resources throughout your organization. There's a current number of workloads that need to be accomplished, and what is the least amount of resources that can be used to accomplish these workloads. And then finally, you want to enhance productivity and shift existing resources to more valuable and impactful levels of work, right? Making your IT team more strategic. This is the end goal for everybody. So what AIOps is great for is both increasing efficiency and enhancing productivity, and that's what we ultimately want to talk about today. You do that through the automating delivery of data processing. I mentioned alert fatigue. I mentioned the number of alerts and how it's bogging down the overall organization. And if you could manage those alerts, you could both increase effectiveness and efficiency and shift your IT team to more strategic thinking. So how is this coming to life within the organization? Well, the truth is that AIOps is actually being utilized more fundamentally than a lot of people even can imagine. Now, this data is taken from a survey that we performed at the end of last year, so I want to say that the numbers are 3 to 4 months old, but an overwhelming almost 2/3 of the folks that we surveyed have indicated that they are already currently experimenting with AIOps in their organization. So people are flocking to this solution because they realize that complexity is there and machine learning can help deal with it on a regular basis. It's true that most thought leaders agree when the power of AI is applied to operations, it's going to redefine the way that infrastructure is ultimately managed and monitored, and incidents are going to be remediated. So AIOps is here, and it's in a big way. What does it mean to bring AIOps to an organization? This is how Gartner likes to illustrate this. So if you bring machine learning to your existing data lakes, your existing data sets, that machine learning can ingest that data and develop a continuous funnel of insights that both unifies your monitoring practice, which is that proactive piece. All right, I want to monitor my infrastructure for capacity to make sure that everything is operating at the right capacity. And then it's going to use those insights to connect the monitoring practice with the service desk practice, which is that reactive phase of your overall IT organization. When incidents arrive, how can I use these insights to actually remediate those incidents in a faster, more effective and efficient manner? So it brings automation to both the monitoring and service desk practices, using continuous insights to make sure that everything is humming along and acting like a well-oiled machine. And now you have the true promise of digital transformation, being able to manage the complexity and making the overall IT organization more effective, right? So we're looking for machine learning that can mine big data, drive continuous insights, and unify these two practices. And what gets tricky, this is how it really works on paper, but what gets tricky is that there is still the reality of complexity that bogs IT operations down. So this big data, for example, let's double click on this for a moment. I want to be able to mine big data for continuous insights, but the problem becomes, how do I know I have access to all the big data that exists within my organization? How do I know that there's not shadow IT? How do I know that there's not forgotten IT or different infrastructure pockets that have arisen throughout the organization that I don't know about? Well, OpsRamp says we are actually going to help you identify that through autonomous discovery and native instrumentation, that we are going to make your big data lake truly a big data lake and give you the peace of mind you actually have access to everything that you need to see within your organization. OpsRamp takes it a step further and also provides, on the other side of the practice, contextual auto remediation. So that means we integrate the service desk and the monitoring practice seamlessly on the OpsRamp platform, so that you know that you not only have access to true big data, but you have access to true integration between these two practices to make sure that when incidents and root cause alerts are identified, they are automatically and seamlessly escalated to the right teams for the right interaction. And I want to bring Luke into this conversation here because he's actually seen this work for our existing customers, and he has implemented it on the fly. So, Luke, I kind of want to pitch it over to you, and maybe you can showcase a little bit more, talk a little bit more about how OpsRamp is actually bringing AIOps to life in some of these organizations that you're talking to.
Yeah, thank you so much, George, and I'd love to. So right now, what part of the struggle has been realistically is for most people trying to understand what exactly is AI and how does it really work. Are all AIs created equal? And, how do I really leverage this technology in my organization depending on my organizational size? So if we move on here to the next slide, I'll kind of talk through that. So kind of the traditional operations route really involved a lot of point solutions. And whereas those point solutions were best in breed for what they really did, the struggle with it is that none of those point solutions that you own currently today are talking to each other. So they really represent kind of slices of truth for your environment. The struggle then happens is that if I have an outage, even though all my point solutions are going to let me know that I've got issues in my environment, I don't necessarily know where the root cause of that is. And I may also be engaging lots of different groups and teams. So, if I have a network outage on a port that's connected to, say, a VMware ESXi host, and on that virtualization host there are maybe 10 servers, the network guys have got their network tools. They're going to get an alert, an event, and an incident. And the VMware guys have got their tools, and they're going to get an alert, event, and an incident. And so on and so on and so forth. And so what happens is I've got a lot of people involved in what realistically is just simply a network problem. And this causes a lot of, drives up the mean time to detect, and it drives up the mean time to resolve. It also means that I have to manage all of those rules for the monitoring of my environment in all of those different point solutions. So it's a lot of heavy lifting. And just as Jordan was kind of pointing out earlier, with the advent of cloud, operations is not getting any easier. It's just getting more and more complex. There's multiple points of data. And again, what we really need is some way to kind of pull that all together. Now, enter in what we would call the first generation of AIOps tools. And in the first generation of AIOps tools, what they're starting to do, they use typically machine learning, which is good. And what they're doing is they're doing keyword matching. So they're matching keywords in this alert, keywords in that alert, and if those match, let's correlate those together. And what's good about that, again, is it can help to reduce the noise. What's bad about that is that because it lacks contextualization, it is very difficult for those first-gen tools to really understand where the root cause of the failure is. And that means that I still have to engage multiple teams. I may have it all correlated together. It may be a little easier to do, but I'm still engaging a lot of heavy lifting to really get to the point where I understand root cause. And it's impossible to really engage automated remediation. And the reason is, if I don't know where the root cause is, how can the tool or the AI go out and actually fix it? So again, a lot of these tools require tuning specialists. You've got to have data scientists. Again, not very helpful. Most organizations, of course, don't employ data scientists, so this can be very costly to really get to run. So when we look at, how has OpsRamp changed the way that AI works and how all this kind of fits together, definitely we throw all that away. It's a rubbish way of doing things. So again, what's happened, OpsRamp's native instrumentality, we also have agentless and agent-based discovery and monitoring availability. And we combine that information of our own tool set with integrations into all the existing tool sets that you have in your environment today. What this again allows you to do is to create that single pane of glass, that all the data, all the operational data in one place. And we look at how does AI work at its core. Guys, there's no magic here. What's happening again is algorithms and heuristics are being run against a data set to create what are called inferences. And those inferences, again, allow us to take action against patterns of behavior in the environment. That being said, it does not take a rocket scientist to figure out that the data set then becomes critical. And so that's why OpsRamp is trying to, again, through all those integrations, we've got over 200 integrations out of the box, as well as our own native instrumentation to be able to collect all that data and monitor all that data. And again, this is stretching across all of your environments. So we like to say, regardless of where your resources are deployed, whether they're legacy or on-premise, whether they're in public or private cloud, OpsRamp can go out, discover all of that, monitor, and then, of course, manage it. So it's about putting all of your arms around all this data and then running all that data through the AI to get great inferences and then be able to take action against those. And then we pair that with integrations into service management tools. So Ivanti, Sharewell, ServiceNow, BNC, all the classic tools are available for integration. If OpsRamp can't remediate the failure itself through our AI and our runbook automation engine, then we can, of course, go out and create an incident in your service management tool, dispatch the right humans to get the problem fixed. And this is about pulling IT service management and IT operations management together into one single, discipline, if you will. This, again, allows us to resolve things very quickly, drive down the mean time to resolve and the mean time to detect, get your services up and running and allow them to share that service availability and service metrics with your customers and help everybody to see what's going on. We want you guys to be the first to know when there's an issue or an outage. And if we look at a case study of how this has really worked, we did this case study. It occurred over about a month period of time. We had in total raw alert volume coming in for this customer, about 43,000 raw alerts in a given month. And what we were able to do is, again, start correlating all that together from all those disparate tools and start breaking that down to where we can get to just the actionable pieces. The point that I want to draw your attention to really quickly is actually incidents generated. So prior to turning on OpsQ, our AI engine, we were generating about 4,100 incidents in a given time period, in a given month. after turning on OpsQ, and again, this was not 3 or 6 or 9 or 12 months that we had to wait for this to actually occur. Again, this took place in 30 days. We were able to reduce their incidents generated down to 129. That represents over a 96% reduction in incidents. This is massive. This is the wave of the future, guys. This is where everybody is going, and what we're seeing is the AI revolution in operations management. As we get into the demo a wee later, I'm going to show you how all this stuff works. We're going to actually look at it in detail, and you guys will be able to have a deep understanding of how we're able to really achieve such massive reductions in not only just the noise, but really in the effort that your teams are going to have to do to get stuff up and running and keep all the lights on. Jordan, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, I imagine how much more effective that IT operations team and IT service management team would have been, if we talk about just a 10% reduction would indicate a 50% more, 50% more effectiveness in the IT operations organization. And there we're talking about a 96% reduction. So
yeah, and the reality of it is, we're not saying necessarily that you get rid of any of these people or that we're seeing a reduction in headcount. What we're really saying is let's take our operations teams and let them do what they're good at, and that is proactively solve problems before they ever existed. Again, letting the AI help them to understand proactively what they can be working on, but then do more with less, right? And this is, as we get more and more complex, organizations are going to have to start utilizing these tool sets to really move the needle, and that's where OpsRamp can really help. Yeah,
I love how you say letting IT professionals do what they do best, because that truly encapsulates what our mission is. As an IT operations management platform that is enabled with AIOps, we really see it as our mission to help IT teams be the first to know when something happens, because the worst thing that happens is when your customers figure out that there's a disruption in service availability or that there's a lag in service performance. So we really want these IT teams to have total visibility and be the first to know whenever there is a service disruption. The second thing that we are driven to deliver is the ability to work fast and to work smart. So when you do see a disruption, you can take action faster with greater context and more insight. That ultimately will help you remediate issues more quickly and more uniformly across the organization. That's where AIOps really does come in. And finally, it's critical for us to be able to help you run IT operations as a service. And I want to harken back to the first slide where I indicated that in any overall transformation of IT operations process, you want to reduce redundancies and increase efficiencies. And that's really IT operations as a service, where it's deployed from a central location with flexibility to accommodate different infrastructure choices that are being made throughout the organization, but also with governance, with control, so that you're able to have a handle on everything that's going on. You can have one centralized repository of point tools, and you can manage the overall IT budget and IT spend all from one place while being able to work effectively. So ultimately, this is our platform. Our platform was engineered by asking the question, what do IT operations teams really need the most out of their IT operations management platform? And the first thing, obviously, is they need visibility, and they want that through the ability to manage hybrid infrastructure all in one place, and the ability to see all IT elements from a service context, from a service view, that they are a collection of elements that make up a business service. So the OpsRamp platform provides those two aspects in total visibility across the organization. The second thing, once you're able to see everything, you want to be able to take action on what you're seeing. And OpsRamp responds with intelligence. That includes both the ability to manage events and monitor according to predefined policies that either you set up or you can use through our set of predefined monitoring templates. So now I'm able to take action. I can start to engage on a monitoring level, set up my monitoring practice on all the things that I'm able to see using a contextual view of the data across my organization. And then finally, ultimately, now that I'm able to take action, now that I'm able to see everything, I would like to see the platform start to take over and make decisions for me that run in an optimal way and shift my resource demands away from routine tasks and into strategic tasks. by being able to resolve incidents and notifying the right teams and escalating the right context-enriched service tickets to the right remediation teams for quick resolution. Ultimately, that's where we see AIOps and OpsQ, our AIOps engine, driving the most value. So you'll see that we have infused AIOps and OpsQ into our policy-based monitoring, our event management, and our intelligent notifications to help you work faster, work more efficiently, and ultimately drive more value from the IT practice. I want to pivot now because I know that folks have really come here to see the guts. They want to see the show, and Luke always does bring the show. So, Luke, if I may, I'm going to turn over screen sharing to you, and you can show us a quick demo of what we ought to be looking at when we're looking at OpsQ and OpsRamp.
Grant, thanks so much, Jordan. Let me go ahead and share out my screen here. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep, we can.
Grand. All right. So again, there's going to be opportunity for questions and answers at the end. So please remember to write down your questions. Want to make sure we get all those answered. What we've done, we're just jumped into OpsRamp. And again, want to remind you that whether we're talking about OpsRamp's own native instrumentation, again, we do have agents out there for Windows, Mac, and Linux, or whether we're talking about gateways or agentless methodologies for discovery. Again, all of that is available, WMI, SNMP, SSH, all the kind of classics that you expect. As well as we kind of talked about all the integrations, again, massive amounts of integrations out of the box. The goal, again, is to pull all the data. So whether you're a small shop or whether you're a large shop, regardless of what you've got in place today, you can take advantage of OpsRamp and pull all this data set together. Now, what does that really look like? If we jump over here to our infrastructure screen, again, this is everything I own in one place, guys. So all of my cloud, again, regardless of what clouds you're using, what platforms, again, everything in one place. So all my on-premise stuff, my servers, my network kit, my storage, my virtualization, all the way down to things like Dockers and Kubernetes, which are becoming hugely popular in the DevOps world, microservices. So OpsRamp actually discovers and manages all of these things in one place. And again, what's nice just is to get all the stuff in one place. That's helpful just on its own. But we take this a step farther and we talk about, realistically, how is OpsRamp different than other AI tools or other operations management tools out there? We're going to take all this data, again, building on these concepts, or pulling it all together. We're going to take all that data and we're going to start mapping it. This is what we call topology mapping. And what OpsRamp's tools have the ability to do is actually understand what's connected to what, what's communicating with what, how are things interacting, and I can then see all of these pieces. This happens to be something hosted in Amazon, so I can see things like VPCs and autoscalers and storage and load balancers and gateways, all the different component pieces. And this is critical because, again, our AI is contextually aware of how everything interacts and works together. What we then do is we take this topology, basically the guts of how all of your pieces and architecture are fit together. And from that, what we're going to do is we're going to map services. And this part, again, is where we leverage our partner community, Flycast, the experts in service management and operations come in. They help you to define your services. They build out these friendly business service names. So again, remember the topology is automatically built by OpsRamp. That's the physical technical layer. But when it comes to your business services, of course, those are unique to you. And so Flycast comes in and really helps you guys to build that out. And of course, what you can see is I can see where I've got service dependency, where I have degradation in a particular service, where I've got services that are actually, interrupted or down. And I can drill into the specific services. And you'll notice that when I do so, I can actually see the individual components that make up that service. I can see where I've got faults and failures. And as a technician, I can drill right down into the actual devices themselves right from here. So whether you're sharing this out with your business users, whether you're providing dashboards and real-time access into service availability to help customers understand what services are up and what services are down, or whether you're just trying to enable your service desk or your technicians to quickly find root causes and quickly solve problems, service maps really help us and are the foundation of how we deliver a lot of that technology. Now, okay, so we've got services, we've got the technology mat. We've got all that data coming in. And what does that really look like? If we jump over here to what we call our alert screen, and what this is, again, is all the classic alerts, regardless of what tool set they're coming from, regardless of whether these are coming from, again, OpsRamp's native tools or they're coming from, tools that you're bringing in. Jordan, can you hear me?
Luke, started just now.
Okay, apologies. I'm not sure what happened. I may have accidentally hit mute. So what we're looking at again here is all of these alerts and events correlated together. So I can see, again, all of my alerts that are coming in. I can see everything that's been correlated together. And I can also see, of course, all of the pieces and parts that constituently make this up. What's nice again here is that I can also see the repeat count. And this is actually critically important. OpsRamp, again, is identifying where you're experiencing problems and is actually going to identify those problems for you straight away. Also, I can see where it's gone out and created incidents inside of Avanti or some other service management tool. If I drill into these tools, I can actually, or into this event, I can actually see information around it. So what resources are affected, how is it correlated all these together? And again, of course, if it does correlate something by mistake, I can always come in here and say decorrelate that. And the AI will actually learn automatically as we utilize the tool set. It's really helpful. Of course, I can see all the information around the incident, and those are bi-directional integrations with the service management tools, by the way. So as I close stuff in your service management tool, it of course closes that out inside of OpsRamp as well. Or if I was to close the alert or events inside of OpsRamp, it would close those tickets out for us as well. And then, of course, as updates occur in real time, the ticket is getting updated in real time as well. So the goal here, again, collect all that data, help us to really understand where are there faults and failures, and pull all that data together into a single place, and then be able to make that actionable, right? And that's where we want to get into that criticality of that. If I dive into a server or into some component pieces, maybe we're going to go out and look for something real quick. As I grab this device or resource, again, I can see all of the critical information around it, what critical alerts have occurred for these resources, what's up, what's down. Also, OpsRamp allows us to set what are called availability metrics. This helps you to determine how do we decide whether a service is up or whether it is down. How do we decide whether resources are up and available or down? And this, of course, if I've got a web farm and lots of servers, I may be able to sustain the failure of one or two servers without the service being interrupted. This, again, allows OpsRamp to understand when does the interruption occur, at what point in time do we start to have issues. There's actually a couple of different ways that we really go about that. One is through understanding availability metrics. The other is actually through what we call synthetic transaction monitoring. So OpsRamp has the ability to go out and monitor different applications and different protocols and services. So if I was to come in here and add one, I can really see things like HTTP and HTTPS, DNS and ping, SIP and voice communications. We can monitor that. TCP and UDP protocols and ports and application traffic, and then all the kind of classic things like mail protocols, SSL, and then all the way down to what we call script-based synthetic transactions. So this allows you to actually log into an application, perform a set of actions. Maybe I'm going to click a button or create a record or perform or run a report, and then capture that really as a script. OpsRamp can then go out and establish a baseline of how long does it take to perform these common actions within an application. Once we have that baseline, when users phone into your service desk or calling in for support, you get the classic like, hey, this app is really slow. Prior to that, there really is not a lot of way to figure out, well, are you right or are you wrong? So we can actually understand, what's the baseline? Maybe we're now seeing a baseline of 37 seconds. Maybe when the user calls in, we're now over 2 minutes. So we can run in and actually look at these through dashboards and understand, how is this application performing? Is it actually performant or is it not? And is it slow? And then, of course, respond accordingly. So, again, lots of different collection points and easy to then configure and manage. Again, no real coding or scripting is required. It does capture all of that and create the script for us. So all of this really enables me to start really utilizing these tools to manage my operations from end to end. And again, as we go into these servers and look at these different pieces, I have everything from the ability to capture those metrics, look at How is that server performing? If I go in and I look at, this one happens to be a Microsoft SQL server, so I can see, how is this database performing? All of that is going to be in one place inside of OpsRamp. You don't have to go from tool to tool to tool. And let's face it, operations guys technically don't live in service management tools. They really live in operations tools because their job is to resolve these things as fast as possible. So again, the goal here is to give them that control and ability to, manage all of the environment right from one place. Even so much, I can go in and remotely control these devices. I can go and execute runbooks and scripts against these devices. I can even come in and start doing things like starting and stopping services. Again, all of the control right in one spot. And that's our goal, is to really enable, IT to start leveraging these technologies to resolve problems faster. And then, of course, what I want to be able to do after that is report on it, right? Look at the dashboards, understand, what's going on. One of the things, of course, is that OpsRamp is multi-tenant. So whether you've got different groups inside your organization that would like to be able to, have their own operations tools, maybe your DevOps team wants that, or you support multiple customers. You've got lots of different options here about how you can consume this. What's nice, of course, is that we can show great dashboards around service availability and uptime. I can show where there are degradations in services or where services might particularly be down. And again, all of this occurring in real time. I can also show you information around cloud costs and insights. How much money are you spending in Amazon versus Google versus Azure? Where is that money being spent geographically in the world? Where are your cost trends? We can show you information around server availability and all the classic CPU and memory and utilization and all those kind of classic metrics. All of those things really are out of the box. Also, we have the ability to create as many of these dashboards as you want. It's all drag and drop. Again, no developers were wounded in the creation of any of these things. You don't have to have developers to configure OpsRamp or to utilize the tool set to take advantage of that. So it's my understanding that at this point in time, Jordan, that we've got roughly about 5 to 7 minutes available left. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I do have a couple of questions.
Let's turn it over for Q&A.
Yeah, fantastic. There seems to be some interest in, I mentioned earlier really quickly, the monitoring templates, and I think that some folks would like to see our library of monitoring templates. So maybe you could take us through that?
Absolutely. So there are almost 400 monitoring templates that exist out of the box. So again, you don't have to build all this stuff yourself. All the standard sorts of stuff that you guys have out there, your Cisco kit, all your networking gear, your virtualization infrastructure, all of that is available to you right out of the box. If you want to tweak one of these, you simply come in and copy it and then tweak the pieces you want, and there you've got a brand new template. So very, very easy to configure. Again, we don't want you having to kind of reinvent the wheel or build all of this stuff. And one of the nice things about OpsRamp, again, is that I can set these templates once in one place and have it control everything from my cloud environment to my on-premise environment. Really reduces having to manage all of those individual point solutions. And then when I come in and I create a template, again, I can decide where am I collecting that data from? Is it a cloud integration point? Is it from a gateway or an agent? And then as I come down to create these metrics and monitoring rules, what's really nice, again, we have the classics that all monitoring tools have, and that is the breach of a threshold. But because, again, we have the AI engaged here, and with all the complexity of these environments, it's sometimes really hard to figure out, well, where should I set these thresholds? How should I do this? And because the AI is monitoring all of these, metrics and stuff, it can help to define what constitutes running normal, so establishing benchmarks. Then I can tell the AI, hey, I'm really looking for significant deviation or change from what constitutes normal, or I'm looking for the forecasted breach of a threshold or failure. So a good example of this might be, hey, we're running low on disk space on a storage volume. You're going to run out of disk space by May the 5th. We'd really recommend you increase the storage volume before that happens. So, really getting out of just that simply reactionary phase, which so many operations teams are just stuck in, and getting to the point where the AI can help provide you all this rich information that's actionable immediately that I can start taking advantage of to really transition to being more proactive. Let the AI kind of do the heavy lifting for you, resolve some of these things automatically for you, and then where possible, of course, If we can't resolve it, let's get the right team involved. So that's kind of how we do templates. Any questions?
Awesome. I did just get another question on the panel, and I think it's worth addressing. We have a question out there. You develop rules. You develop rules based on observed behavior. This is an AI question. You develop rules based on observed behavior. The operation of the rules then changes the impact. So if you calculate the rules with AI, what happens? So I think the question is, as the rules continuously change because the impact changes, how does the AI engine resolve that difference?
Yeah, so, and I hope that I'm understanding this correctly. And let's say that I have a monitoring rule out there that says, let's alert when I hit 80% utilization of a threshold. Now, if I'm, going to say that we're going to let the AI establish what that baseline is, or I decide that I'm going to manually change the rule from 80% to, say, 70%. So what occurs again is at the rule change, prior alerts that have already occurred obviously are not going to alert again, but any new alerts that come in for the rule, once the rule has been changed, the AI will alert against all of those that meet the rule as those alerts occur. So as the alerts are flowing in, and again, regardless of where those alerts are coming from, OpsRamp is going to process the rule based on the configuration at the time the rule came in. So what's nice again about that is that you're not going to get filled up as you change these rules. Your inbox is not going to get filled up with a bunch of alerts that really are false positives, and it's only going to carry forth with the alerts that are relevant at that moment in time.
Awesome. That's great. Okay.
And then go on.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to show, if we look at inference models, there's really kind of a lot of people out there that kind of have black box AI. And there's not really a lot of ways to change it. And or if you did want to change it, you'd really have to have a data scientist to go out there and do it. It's not trivial. Inside of OpsRamp, this is really easy to configure. So again, we have kind of three basic policies around AI. One is really a correlative model that does upstream and downstream. So remember that we're understanding what's connected to what's communicating with what. And this is where, if I have a root cause failure at, say, a network port, and I see that alert comes in, and then, I see 5 other systems fail as a result of that. That's where OpsRamp is going to correlate all that together and say, hey, this is the root cause of the failure, because, again, it understands what's connected to what and how all that kind of takes place. We can combine that with algorithm-based rules, and this allows me to come in and say, I really want to look at correlating or performing AI inferences against maybe an alert source or a device group or a service group. And this allows me to define the data set that the AI is then going to utilize to create those inferences. And then lastly, a co-occurrence model. And this is, again, where it's too complex for humans to really get in there and really figure this stuff out. So this is something where, I've got this backup job and that backup job failed. And then this storage volume went down, and because that storage volume went down, this application failed. And so that might have been 3 different tool sets that collected that data. And because the AI kind of correlate it all together and see how this stuff occurs at the same time or within a window of time, the AI can start to say, hey, this is this complex problem that may be really hard for the backup guy to solve. Becomes simple and easy because the AI is going to say, this is the root cause of the failure. And that's really the differentiator in OpsRamp's AI, is the ability to have that contextualization of the data.
Excellent. I'm going to have to actually cut you off right there, Luke. This is a great demonstration, but we are at time, and I want to pitch it back to our friends at Flycast. So I know that there are other questions out there. I did want to mention, if you have additional questions, please feel free to contact our friends at Flycast. Their professional services team is more than capable of handling some of these questions we have about artificial intelligence and how to bring it to your organization. And with that, Luke, if you want to pitch it back to David over at Flycast, I think he can close us out.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, anybody that would like to have a deep dive into this, happy to help. Again, contact the Flycast guys. And we'll get together and answer any questions that you have. Back to you, David. And thanks for the opportunity to talk about how AI is kind of changing the world.
Yeah, our pleasure, Luke and Jordan. And thank you both for your time today and taking us through that. Everybody, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to us through our website. We have people ready to chat with you there, or you can give us a call. Also, for anybody who's looking for the recording or any more details, we're happy to answer those for you. So again, Jordan, Luke, thank you both for your time today. It was a great presentation. And everyone else who attended, thank you for your time today. Have a great one.